Hi there, this is Kendra at ourpaleolife.com. I'm going to start off today with an overview of how to set up and continue brewing kombucha with a continuous brew system. I have had mine going for quite a while now, so it's not going to be a start from the beginning, but how to keep it going, basically. There's a blog post on our website that has a very detailed overview and all the information you're going to need as far as supplies and how to get started and how to get your own system set up. So you can go to the website and check that out. It's right there on the homepage. So we're just going to get right into this and show you kind of how we manage our system here at our home. To get started, this is our container that we use. It is about a 2-gallon container. We've replaced the spigot that came with it. It was plastic and painted to look metal, and it was pretty low quality. The paint would flake off and the flow rate was incredibly slow. So we replaced it with a brew safe metal spigot. You have to make sure that you find one specifically that is capable of brewing high acidic liquids. There is also in that blog post that I mentioned a link specifically for the one that we've purchased here. It is fantastic and we highly recommend it. In addition to that, you'll need some specific bottles. These are swing top bottles that we purchased on Amazon. I always take the swing top off to wash them, but they're really easy to snap back on. You just put one side in and kind of snap the other one in. And then they very easily just close and open. The other thing you'll need is a non-metal, drawing a blank on the name here, funnel. Non-metal because you don't want anything reactive for your kombucha because it will cause damage to the bacteria in the SCOBY. This is for refilling your bottles, adding the flavor, adding the kombucha to each batch. So I've already started my tea. I got my tea brewed already. You can see that the way that I do it so that I don't have to filter out the tea leaves later is I just put my colander directly into my sweet water. I sugar the water, bring it to a boil and add the tea leaves and just kind of let it sit. I don't ever really time it. I just kind of let it go until I remember that I'm brewing tea, which is fine. It just makes a stronger brew and that also adds to the flavor, makes it really great. So I'm going to go ahead and filter out the tea leaves. So what you don't want to do is add really hot tea directly to your kombucha because that will kill the SCOBY. So we need to get this cool. One way to do it is to be patient and wait, and I'm very not good at that. So what I like to do is I like to have a pitcher of cold water. So rather than brewing an entire 1.5 gallons of tea all at once, I brew just a 1/2 gallon and leave the remaining gallon of water pretty cold. So what I'm going to do is just divide this water between my 2 pitchers here. And then pour the hot tea directly into this cold water, which will kind of speed up the cooling down process. And I'll give it a quick stir also to just kind of speed up that cooling down. And there are some tea leaves down here in the bottom that kind of make it through that mesh colander, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me. That goes directly into the brew container, and they just kind of sink down to the bottom and they never make it into the final kombucha. I will, after maybe a few months, kind of take everything out, clean it out, give it a deep clean, get all that that heavy yeast that's down at the bottom and all the extra tea leaves down there and kind of clean that out. But we're not going to do that right now because we've got a pretty good system going here, so we're going to just continue on. So I think this is a pretty good temperature. Room temperature is good, or even slightly warmer or slightly cooler is fine. So we're going to go ahead. Most important thing when dealing with the SCOBY, which is the mother bacteria for the kombucha, and you can take a look in here and see how nice and pretty she is. Although a lot of people think it looks like an ugly alien, but it's still pretty. Most important thing is to have everything clean. You don't want to get any germs or bacteria on that are going to cause it to mold or cause problems with your batch. So I'm going to go ahead and rewash my hands just to be on the safe side, because I have been touching a few other things around the kitchen. Wash them real quick, make sure that anything that it's touching is completely clean. You can sanitize everything with vinegar. That's better than just using soap, because any soap residue left over on anything will also cause damage to the SCOBY.
How to wash your hands.
This is a how to wash your hands. I wanted to be sure I was extra clean. And dry your hands with a paper towel, because who knows what the kids have touched the towels with. All right, so we're gonna reach in, and I need a stool because I'm kind of short. Reach in and grab this thing out of here very carefully. And then we're gonna inspect it, because that's the fun part. So here's the bottom that's resting in the tea most of the time. And you can see it's got like this kind of gross looking stuff, but that's actually just the yeast and bacteria, and it's colored that way from the tannins in the tea, and that's not bad, that's not mold or anything. But you can see that it comes apart in layers. So each batch of kombucha that you brew will form a new layer of SCOBY. So this one right here is actually the newest layer that was formed just recently. So what you can do, and if you come look over here at our SCOBY hotel, you can see all the different layers that we've added and that have formed on their own since we've started this, maybe just a month ago. We've grown so much, and these are good for us. We like to feed them to our chickens. The chickens love them, but they're also great to be able to hand off to friends who want to start their own brew system. They're great for use in the garden. Google has a million uses for them. Those are just a few that we use them for. So I'm not going to separate this time and add any to the hotel. I'm going to keep this whole thing in the crock this time around. But when it gets a little thicker, I mean, you know, pretty thick like that, I'll start peeling off layers and putting them in the crock. All right, so let's go ahead and pour our new sweet tea into our tea that we left remaining from last time. So this is about just a few cups. That's all you really need to leave from the previous brew. I like to drain off about 1.5 gallons and leave this extra little bit to get my next batch started. And the reason we remove the SCOBY first before pouring in this extra tea is to keep it from getting damaged, because we got to treat it a little bit carefully. But we'll place this SCOBY back on the top as soon as we're done adding this tea. All right, now we're back to slightly over 1.5 gallons of starter. So we're going to take our pretty SCOBY, and see, the top of my container is smaller than the actual outside perimeter, so I kind of have to fold it and have to put it in. You might not have that particular problem with your system, but it just adds a little bit of fun to the process. So we're going to carefully place it back in there, and it has some tea still floating on top, which is fine. The SCOBY will eventually find its way back to the top. If not, it's fine if it still floats a little below the surface. It'll just, you'll see a little bit more of that brown yeast from the tannins in the tea floating on top of the SCOBY as opposed to attaching below. So next we're just going to replace our fabric over the top. You want a tight weave fabric like this, not like cheesecloth, because cheesecloth will allow floaty things or fruit flies to get inside. So a tight weave cloth that still allows air to escape and keeps the bugs out. That's what you need. So I just use a little piece of quilting cotton and a rubber band. And that is it for replacing and getting started your next batch of brew. The other thing I like to do is take my chalk marker. This is how I mark all of my bottles. And I like to add today's date on it, which I think is July 11th. So I'm going to write July 11th on it. Now I know, because I'm forgetful, when I go back and think, when did I start this brew? Because it takes about 5 to 7 days for it to go, that I know exactly when I started it and about when I should start checking it for taste. So what I do is after about 3 or 4 days, I just take a little cup, a little taste of it. If it's still really sweet, it can go a few more days. If it's starting to feel a little, or taste a little bit tart, that's perfect. That is the perfect time to start filling up your bottles and adding your flavoring. If it's gotten to the vinegary flavor, you might have gone a little bit too far, still salvageable. You might need to add a little bit of extra sugar to your flavoring to help that second fermentation be able to give you that carbonation and enhance the flavor as well. So let me show you a couple of the flavors that we actually put up last night. Our new favorite flavor is cherry limeade. And I posted the recipe for this on my Instagram, which is Our Paleo Life. And it's basically just cherries, limes, and a little bit of sugar to help counteract the citrus from the limes. And since I didn't make enough flavoring to do all 13, I do get about 13 bottles for every batch of kombucha that I do. I didn't make enough flavoring for that for 13, so I just went ahead and threw a few pieces of peeled ginger and some mint leaves, and fingers crossed on this one that the ginger mint tastes great. I also added about a teaspoon of sugar in there just to help, because I did let this last brew go a little bit long, and there's no fruit sugars in there to help speed up or enhance the carbonation in the second fermentation. So a little bit of sugar in that one. And I think that's it. I'll give you a quick view of the ingredients actually that we use to make the tea. So what you'll want to start is a good organic sugar. I've had a lot of people ask if this can be done without sugar, and it really can't, because sugar is one of the fuels that the SCOBY needs in order to eat up, to be able to grow, and to be able to convert that into the bacteria and the probiotics that is what makes kombucha so great. So a good organic sugar is very important. The next thing that you need is tea, and there's a lot of different opinions on which type of tea to use. We prefer to use a half and half combination of black tea and gunpowder green tea. And this allows for a really excellent amount of caffeine that helps feed that SCOBY, but not so much caffeine that it causes a problem. And it's also got a really great flavor. And I've also noticed that rather than just going straight black or straight green, that the combination of two gives really, really great carbonation in that second fermentation. The teas I actually get on Amazon. They're really great. The prices are great there. I've linked those in the blog post on our website. The sugar I was getting on Amazon, I recently found it at Costco for maybe a third of the cost. So if you've got a Costco nearby and a membership, definitely get your organic sugar from Costco. And that is pretty much it. It's a really simple system to start, keep up, maintain, and to be able to have really cheap, delicious kombucha at home that you don't have to buy at the store every day, and it's just always there waiting in your fridge for you. So if you have any questions, let us know, and be sure to check out the post on the website and keep in touch on Instagram, because I'm always adding my newest and favorite flavors on Instagram as well. Thanks so much. Bye.